If I will first ask you,
Yes.
I know we're talking about city tourism, but
Yes.
looking at Sri Lanka as a whole, to start things off, what is your assessment of how Sri Lanka is looking like in terms of the global traveller and what we have to offer?
Everybody is feeling a sense of positivity when it comes to Sri Lanka, certainly within the country. But I think also globally, having spoken to people around the world, I think there is a interesting sense of almost like the Sri Lanka has arrived, although Sri Lanka has been here for a long time. It's interesting when I think about that why do they want it to do well? Because it's a destination that has so much to offer. So naturally, when you have an easy sell and a great attraction, then it's something that you want to be there and to offer to the world and to the tourism and travelers alike. Sri Lanka has always been known and sold and cherished as a destination that has everything for everyone. And except for snow, you can come to Sweden, where I'm from. You can get your fair share of snow. I think it's important that we identify what is the core USP for the country, both as Colombo, as the city, and then around the country, so that we're not trying to really be everything to everyone, because then it's difficult to be anything to anyone, as they say. Why are tourists coming here, and how can we tap into show them that we have something that no other country has? Why I say that is because what Sri Lanka and Colombo has going for it is its authenticity, is its culture, is its food, is its art, music, everything that's around, and it's bustling in Colombo, right? I mean, you walk on the streets, you take a left, you see everything is so homegrown and so natural and so welcoming. As the future goes, we'll be able to see that it will be a destination, I believe, that people will come and only come to Colombo as they do only coming to our neighbors in Mumbai or going to Bangkok or wherever it may be.
Sri Lanka has arrived and Colombo is its rising star. We spoke about all of this and more with the CEO of Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts, Mikael Svensson. Stay tuned.
For 30 years, LMD has been the voice of business in Sri Lanka, capturing the pulse of the nation's corporate landscape through its iconic covers. Each cover tells a story, from the first edition in 1994 to the present day, narrating key moments, leaders and trends that have shaped Sri Lanka's business ecosystem. Over the years, LMD covers have featured thought leaders, business pioneers and game-changing innovations, reflecting the evolution of industries and the economy. As we celebrate 30 years, these covers represent more than just publications. They are a testament to LMD's legacy of excellence in business journalism and its unwavering commitment to being Sri Lanka's leading voice of business. LMD, Sri Lanka's voice of business, a legacy of 30 years.
Hello and welcome to LMDtv. The topic of conversation today is city tourism, and I'm here with the CEO of Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts, Mikael Svensson. Mikael, it's lovely to have you on our show and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
I want to give our viewers and audience a kind of, foundation before we start the conversation.
Yes.
So if I will first ask you,
Yes.
I know we're talking about city tourism, but
Yes.
looking at Sri Lanka as a whole, to start things off, what is your assessment of how Sri Lanka is looking like in terms of the global traveller and what we have to offer?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question, obviously. I think we could do a whole segment just on that question alone. But, I think everybody is feeling a sense of positivity when it comes to Sri Lanka, certainly within the country. But I think also globally, having spoken to people around the world, I think there is a interesting sense of almost like the Sri Lanka has arrived, although Sri Lanka has been here for a long time. And I think that obviously comes from certain challenges that we've seen in the country. Others have obviously faced things like COVID and so forth, but we've had a few more bumps in the road than that. And everybody is really rooting for Sri Lanka. I think we see that also with the kind of accolades that the country is getting. It's really wanting Sri Lanka to do well. And it's interesting when I think about that why do they want it to do well? Because it's a destination that has so much to offer. So naturally, you know, when you have an easy sell and a great attraction, then it's something that you want to be there and to offer to the world and to the tourism and travelers alike. So I think that it has a very, very positive outlook. I do think that Sri Lanka has always been known and sold and cherished as a destination that has everything for everyone. And you know, except for snow, you can come to Sweden, where I'm from. You can get your fair share of snow. But so I think that, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But having said that, as we start to see the projected demands that we are expecting in Sri Lanka, I think it's important that we identify what is the core USP for the country, both as Colombo, as the city, and then around the country, so that we're not trying to really be everything to everyone, because then it's difficult to be anything to anyone, as they say. So you know, we have so much to choose from, and it's about whether it's the beaches and all the beauty down south, or whether it's the safaris or the tea trails, or of course, in fact, you know, this amazing city of Colombo. So it's how we package this, is how we market it, it's how we give the message to our key markets, and that they understand what they're coming for. Because not everybody is, as I call it, like the Lonely Planet traveler, who goes and comes and says, I want to go to 5 or 6 or 7 destinations. That's not generally, people don't have the time, and many people have specific interests. And I think especially in this area, South Asia and Southeast Asia, why are tourists coming here, and how can we tap into, show them that we have something that no other country has.
Lovely. And very correct. Like you said, we talk a lot about our offering, you know, sun, sand, sea, you know, history, a little bit of Ayurveda. But I think we don't talk enough about what Colombo has to offer. I mean, at least in a deeper sense. What do you see as the most prospective things?
Yeah, I think obviously we're sitting here at Cinnamon Life. So obviously we have huge prospects and expectations of Colombo. And I think that it's an interesting question, because you ask yourself, like, why is it like that? And I think it's because currently today we're headlining with what Sri Lanka has to offer around Colombo, and not Colombo as the hub, as it were. And I think that, you know, we have an opportunity to be an urban city, a top-tier urban city, and really showcase Colombo as something unique. And why I say that is because what Sri Lanka and Colombo has going for it is its authenticity, is its culture, is its food, is its art, music, everything that's around, and it's bustling in Colombo, right? I mean, you walk on the streets, you take a left, you see everything is so homegrown and so natural and so welcoming, that I think what we have in Colombo resonates with people that are going to travel throughout the country. And what Colombo also has, obviously, is that direct connectivity between coming to Colombo, spending a couple of days here, and then literally taking an hour's car drive, and you can be in down south into the beaches, and then furthermore into safaris and all the rest. And we saw that as Cinnamon. We saw the opportunity for this actually quite some time ago, prior to this very positive outlook. That's why we developed Cinnamon Air, which essentially is our connectivity airline, from being able to come into Colombo, literally landing right in front here on the water, and then flying through to the south, or flying up into the east coast, or wherever you may be going. So for us, it's about that ability to connect, whether it be by land or by sea, or even by boat, but really kind of emphasizing that Colombo can stand on its own 2 feet as a city in itself. And I think as the future goes, we'll be able to see that it will be a destination. I believe that people will come and only come to Colombo, as they do only coming to our neighbors in Mumbai, or going to Bangkok, or wherever it may be. So
I mean, looking at that future, when people do come only to, spend a week in Colombo, how should we or how could we differentiate ourselves from Mumbai or from Singapore or Hong Kong?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned, I think first and foremost lead by what we have that nobody else can copy, and that is the authenticity of its people, the warmth of its people, the nature that we have to offer. So that goes without saying. And I think what's obvious, always very dangerous when you start to see high demand coming in to destinations is that I kind of call it that tourism change, where the demand of tourism takes away from the culture and authenticity because it starts to shape itself for what tourists are looking for. That's not necessarily in line with what the country offers or the culture of the country. So I think that's key, number one. The other differentiator, as I mentioned, is the connectivity to the areas, whether it be down south to the beaches or throughout the country, which no other destination really has. People do go obviously to hubs, cities, and then travel around. But in our case, the distance is very unique. And I think that's a really, really important and good factor. But as I mentioned in the beginning, is let's not try to be everything to everybody because it just confuses the message.
Of course.
So I think, it's a very vibrant city. It has a lot going for it. And just overall exciting place. I don't think you can spend 2 days and see everything that Colombo has to offer.
Not.
So if you have to spend a week here, then then obviously it has enough to offer.
Talking of connectivity, I mean, we were talking about connectivity inside the island, but if we were to look, at the region, we always say that we're very strategically located. How do you think we can make use of that so that we become a gateway city to the region, whilst differentiating ourselves, of course?
Yeah, it's a great question because I think it kind of there's three elements, I believe, into that question. Firstly, as you correctly said, strategically located. There's location and there's investment and there's the brand.
Yes.
And from a location perspective, obviously, we're a hub for the port city is here and the shipping yards are here, so we're a global hub for shipping as it stands, and then we have great connectivity and it's growing week by week, month by month. Direct connectivity obviously through to South Asia, but even through to Southeast Asia and into Europe. And people like to travel these days on non-stop flights. So that's critical for us. And I think with airlift also being able to travel long distances, we're in a good position. And obviously our neighbors in the Maldives makes it even better when you're looking at sort of that bucket list experience and coming in. And as we have 4 properties in the Maldives, we see a lot of similarities between what Sri Lanka has to offer and then what Maldives have to offer. It's a nice transition.
Nice. It complements.
Absolutely, complements each other in a nice way. So I think there, from a location, definitely. The second point of becoming a gateway is investment. We need to make sure that we have proper infrastructure. We invest in infrastructure, airports, connectivity. Although I spoke positively about it, we need to make sure that it is world class. We need to invest in ensuring we have everything to everyone. Also, when it comes to MICE markets and big events, that we have attractions for what they're looking for in big conferences. So those things are critically important. And then also investment in seeing foreign investments coming in, because as a gateway you need to be representative both locally and internationally. So that's obviously a critical point. And then lastly, but certainly not least, is the brand. Now Sri Lanka has been speaking of a campaign for a long time.
Very long time.
We've transitioned. I think we've gone through, I don't know how many taglines we have, but we can almost write a book about it. And for me, I always say, to just do something. It's not, it's stick with it. And really the success of the campaign is not in the tagline. So, we need to just do. Somebody asked me some time back about like, well, Mikael, what do you think? What are the most important things? I said, just do something and stick to that, and pitch the brand, pitch the country, pitch the city. And when we do that, we must pitch the country Colombo first. If you want to be a gateway, you pitch it first. All these cities that we see around us, they don't go and pitch Thailand and they pitch everything around. It's Bangkok and everything else. So Colombo needs to take
the lead,
take the lead, and also take a big chunk of what our message is. Our message is always predominantly it's sun, sea, sand, as you said, and all of this. Yeah, it is, but we're not. We're not Bali as an island. We are a city and a country that has that kind of composition that must demand a city to be a gateway and a world gateway city. And I believe with those three elements, we'll definitely be able to do so.
Yes, here's hoping. It's time now to take a very short break, but we'll soon be back to talk more about city tourism.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging Media.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking about city tourism with the CEO of Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts, Mikael Svensson. Mikael, you also mentioned something that made me it paved the way to my next question.
Yes.
MICE. Whenever we say city tourism, I think that comes on top of the list. How is it looking like right now, the MICE tourism segment, and what are the prospects that you see for 2025?
MICE is obviously critical. Again, as you say, for the city to really stand on its own at that level. And it's looking very, very positive. One of the strategies that we had when we developed Cinnamon Life is obviously to ensure that we can offer within Cinnamon, but also to the city, a range of different types of hotels with a lot of hotel rooms. Because MICE, real true MICE in its thousands, you need space. So with us having a good 1,500 rooms now within Colombo alone, Cinnamon Life, Cinnamon Grand, Lakeside and Red, it allows us to really offer something across all four ranges of hotels, but also that interlinking that's necessary with big MICE. You don't have 1,000 people coming and sitting in a hotel, exactly. So, you need to have an interlink experiences, going to different, you might have a gala dinner in one place, you do something else here, you go out to other attractions. So I think there is great interest. I know from the kind of demand that we have got just by building Cinnamon Life is massive. It's huge, and especially from India, obviously with where we're located, but even from other countries, from Europe to Middle East to other Asian countries, we're seeing a lot of interest. I think in order for MICE also to be to work is you need airlift, proper airlift, and you need budget airlines, and you need the commercial airlines. So this also critical, because when people are looking at destinations, they don't look at the price of what the hotel is. They look at everything, right? What does it cost to fly people over? What does it cost for the hotel, and what does it cost for the event? And lastly, what offerings are there for the 1,000 people that are coming? Night markets to this, to festivals and so forth. And there, I think we already have opportunities, but we need to kind of strengthen that a little bit, have some more focus, and ensure that our city offerings are up there with other cities, because they do look at those aspects. But we've had challenges with MICE coming in that simply because of airlift, because they like to travel together. We have not been able to facilitate. But I think we're certainly doing our bit at Cinnamon to try to offer as much event space and as many rooms as we can. And yeah, it's going to be very exciting to have all of these events coming in the coming year.
And talking of space, I mean, we're seeing that Colombo right now is attracting local players, and then international hotels are also coming in. So looking at Colombo, like you said, because Colombo is going to be, you know, the speaker for Sri Lanka, if I may say it like
I
that.
like that. The speaker for Sri Lanka. Can I use that in the future?
Of course.
I love it. A speaker for Sri Lanka. That's a headline. Don't use it in a campaign, though.
No, I will leave it out. So looking at Colombo, how should Colombo balance local and international players?
Yeah, I think it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
But it's a balancing act because you need both. I think it is critically important for us to have international players because it gives us a global standard across the board. And more importantly, it gives us global reach. You know, when you bring international hotel brands here, they're doing so because they need to promote the destination in order for their hotels to be successful. So bringing whomever it is into Colombo, it's great for us. But at the same time, you also want to have the local aspects because you need the cultural connectivity with what we have to offer. So I think the combination of the two is also important, that when you bring in international brands, that there is a certain Sri Lankan undertone, and naturally they would do that because they don't come in here not to want to strengthen the brand. On the contrary, they come to strengthen their brand and facilitate more business. And we see it around. We have some projects, as you know, around Colombo that have been put on hold for the last few years, understandably. But the big players are all here and they continue to call. So I think we should definitely welcome international brands, not just in hospitality, but across all segments, and complement that with the local brands, and not be afraid, not think that by bringing in international brands and in some way we're diminishing what Sri Lanka is. We can't overprotect ourselves.
Of course.
But at the same time, it's very important that we really think Sri Lanka first when it comes to what we have to offer.
That's beautiful. I'm almost at the end of my questions, Mikael. But just to ask you, to end things off, what are you most looking forward to in 2025? It's like very few days away. Yeah,
it is just a few days away. What I'm most looking forward to is a year without any bumps in the road.
Yes.
You know, but there has been bumps, you know, in the past few years as such, and we've dealt with them with great expertise in the country, I have to say, and everybody is, you know, extremely strong and resilient in managing that. But it'd be nice not to have to be so resilient and really focus on being able to drive things forward. And I'm really excited about it because I do believe that this is a year where everybody feels positivity and everybody is thinking glass half full. And everybody wants to sort of move the levels up, move things forward, kick the can forward rather than sideways, and really try to develop all the wonderful things we have here in Colombo and also throughout Sri Lanka, being able to really see the fruits of all of these efforts that we have had as a country over the years, and then unfortunately been knocked back a little bit. But I do feel that 2025 will be a great year. I'm very, very excited about it, and I think that from all walks of life and from all standpoints, it's going to be very exciting for all of us. Lovely. We've been in conversation with the CEO of Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts, Mikael Svensson. Mikael, thank you very much for an insightful interview. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you. Likewise, it was a pleasure. Thank you. And thank you to all our viewers for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. Thank you for watching and stay safe.